Jim Comey, author of the new book, Saving Justice, Truth, Transparency, and Trust. It's nice to see you. Tell me what you would be doing right now if you were still running the Bureau on the question of whether Donald Trump incited the insurrection.
Well, a number of things all at the same time. First, trying to make sure that we track down immediately those people we can quickly identify in the attacking force against the Capitol, and that's fairly straightforward. The second thing is to look beyond them to see what facts there are that support conspiracy, who funded it, who organized it, who equipped it, and who incited it, and are there criminal cases to be made in connection with any of those activities. At the same time, you're trying to also look forward towards the inauguration and events in the state capitals and figure out whether any of the people who were involved are going to be involved in new attacks or there are new attackers joining an effort. So you're looking in multiple directions at the same time. It's going to be an all-hands-on-deck effort.
And you were in the government, in the Justice Department, the years after 9/11. The president-elect Biden has described the attack as domestic terrorism. And obviously, you and I were both in the government. If you lay a terrorism frame over this or approach to an investigation, you do the things you just described. You investigate the funding, you investigate the incitement. I was talking with Neil Katyal in the last block that I believe terrorists living in other countries have been delivered harsh judgments for inciting violence. Al-Awlaki was bombed, dropped a drone strike, killed him for his inciting videos, bomb-making videos. I mean, incitement to commit violence against the state is deadly serious. Why aren't we hearing more about that from law enforcement?
Well, I suspect that almost everybody at the FBI is working to try and track down the facts and lock people up. I can't fully explain why you're not hearing from the director or the leader of the Department of Justice, but I know the rest of the folks are working like crazy, looking backwards and looking forwards, all in an effort to keep us safe.
And do you think, I mean, you sought to run the Bureau with a blind eye toward the powerful, and it cost you your job. Do you think the people there now have a blind eye to whether Donald Trump incited the insurrection, that he's the sitting president, or do you think they'll ignore that?
Well, I hope they'll ignore it. And given the nature and character of the people in the FBI, I expect that they will. They might be careful tiptoeing around a little bit in what they say about it over the next 6 days, but they are people who will follow the facts wherever they go.
You wrote a book about truth and facts, and it seems that if you're going to deal with the root cause, you need the people that the people who've been radicalized listen to, and that's Donald Trump. He still refuses to say that there was no fraud and that he lost to Joe Biden fair and square. How does that impact or further the radicalization of his supporters?
Well, it just keeps it alive. It's a piece of propaganda. It's like another statement from Zawahiri. It keeps the followers, the radicalized, believing they're on the righteous side. They're on God's side with a noble cause, and that still makes it a very dangerous situation.
Can we be safe with Donald Trump out there continuing to spew his lies?
We can be safer, but with Donald Trump continuing to radicalize and to energize them, he makes us less safe. As he fades from our picture, as we turn off the camera lights and let him do whatever he does down at Mar-a-Lago, we'll be safer, but we can't take our eye off of this threat at any time.
Where do you place Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz in terms of culpability? They are the reason that last Wednesday became the event that Trump's supporters wanted it to be, the event that was attacked. They legitimized the claims of fraud, which have no basis in fact. Where do you put them and all of Trump's enablers in Congress?
Well, there's no doubt they're morally culpable. They're part of the pack of liars who echoed the president's radicalization message. Whether they're legally culpable is a much harder question. I don't know how the Justice Department will think about it, but at least it's worthy of consideration. But there's no fuzz on it. They're morally culpable for what happened.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.